Famous for his book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Over 15 million copies sold worldwide. John Gray.
Most women, by the time they get a certain age, they realize that one night stands are not fulfilling. What causes the orgasm is your estrogen doubles, but your estrogen can't double unless you feel really safe. 90% of a man's need to have sex is knowing that a woman wants to have sex with me. Men thrive on being appreciated. They thrive on someone not trying to change them.
You said men are primarily motivated by being needed, but are turned off by neediness. I'd love to expand on that.
So the way I summarize this is for women who haven't found a mate, the way you find a mate is
Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with John Gray, famous for his book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, which remains a bestseller with over 15 million copies sold worldwide. In 2017, John published a follow-up book titled Beyond Mars and Venus, Relationship Skills for Today's Complex World, which addresses the evolving dynamics of modern relationships. As a relationship expert, what advice do single women need to hear today in order to find success with the one?
Well, I'm glad you asked for the one, because that's my specialty, is finding the one. And you can find the one and recognize the one if you're a woman, attract the one. That's the key phrase, is have the right guys being attracted to you and being right attracted back. And that's something called hormonal balance. What I found is what women are commonly using the phrase today, and I agree with it, which is nurturing my female side. As a man, I need to nurture my male side. Whenever a man is depressed or he's angry or he's irritable, you can find the worst characteristics of men when their testosterone levels are lower than normal. This is very interesting. Often we associate male misbehavior with high testosterone, and it's actually men who have high testosterone as a set point. If they don't keep it up, then their testosterone goes low. Like, I don't have as much muscle mass as some of these big muscle guys, so I don't need to make as much. So when you need to make more testosterone, if you don't make enough, you have low testosterone. I learned this when one of my male clients was a super muscle guy, and he says, I can't keep it up with my girlfriend. The first couple of times I've got it, and then it goes away. I said, you got low testosterone. He says, how can I have low testosterone? I said, go check. It was 0, because he was using it all up with his muscles. So it's, it's kind of contradictory. Now, the challenge for women today, and I just wanted women to know that about men, it's the testosterone that allows their behavior to be positive. Now, if you have sex with a guy right away, what you need to know is that right after having sex, his testosterone is going to go way down. If you waited a while to have sex, he would have to win you over. And if he wins you over, he associates with you higher testosterone levels. Men experience testosterone production when they feel I've achieved something, I've overcome something, I've won her over, so to speak. So he takes you on a date and you like him and he kisses you. And then you basically say, as he's negotiating to have sex, his job is to have sex right away. If he's in touch with his sexuality, that's the push inside of men. We make enough sperm for the whole planet. Okay, so his thing is to get in there. You're the gatekeeper. If it's easy for him to get in, he doesn't build the muscles. Okay, so you have to think about a wonderful analogy is the butterfly. It's a worm and it's in a cocoon and it struggles to get out of the cocoon. And if you go, oh, poor little butterfly, let's open it up for him, then he doesn't develop the muscles and he'll die because he can't fly. He needs to go through that struggle. Men need to go through the challenge of winning you over before you're physically intimate with him. Otherwise, his testosterone immediately goes back down afterwards. It will always go back down afterwards. But what will happen is he'll take a little distance, but he also still connected to you because you've had wonderful conversations. You've said things to him like, what a good idea, or that makes sense. You're right about that. And you have different points of view, but you don't try to change his. That's a key thing. You don't want to just be a people pleaser. and try to be as pleasing as possible. You can be different and pleasing as possible, which is, he can say, oh, I'm voting for this person. You go, oh, well, that's interesting. Tell me why. He talks a little bit. Then you say, well, that makes sense. I have a completely different point of view. And I think this and this and this. He will, because he doesn't have your relationship skills, he'll try to change you. And you just have to say, oh, no, I just have my point of view. I appreciate your point of view. You just don't want to get into trying to change each other. Because as soon as you try to change, either verbally try to change or to hide yourself, authenticity is what makes you most attractive. But what we want is to make sure that you're putting out the pheromones that will attract the right man to you. Like the flowers, the bees come to the honey and to make the honey. And what are those pheromones? Those pheromones are produced when you make a lot of estrogen. So estrogen is a very important hormone. And when you're going to attract the right guy, is naturally in your cycle, in your menstrual cycle, first 4 or 5 days after your period is not going to be high estrogen. You want to put yourself in the situations where men will meet you, want to take you out, go on dates, when about 5 days before your ovulation. Okay, that's the time when you really want to go on the most romantic dates.
Interesting.
And you don't want to date a man a whole lot. You want to create distance in between where he misses you. He needs to miss you. And if he has his masculinity, he's going to have sex. He's going to want to push for sex because men didn't always do this. They wanted sex, but they knew they had to fulfill a protocol before they could have sex. Okay. Even when I was a teenager, I felt guilty having sex because I wasn't married. You're supposed to get married before sex. That's how it used to be. So before that, all the men weren't having sex, but there's this illusion that if you're a real man, she's going to want to have sex with you. So you basically reject him without rejecting him. And I suggest this, even if your body wants to do it, don't do it. You want to create a space for if he really cares about you. I think most women, by the time they get a certain age, they realize that one night stands are not fulfilling. They just, I remember back in the 90s, one of the most popular books, along with Men Are From Mars, that one for a couple of years was, forgetting the name of that one. It was, Why Doesn't He Call Back or something like that, and many times he didn't call back because you had sex and there's no other bonding that happens in the mind and the heart. Sex should come after you've had the real intimate experience of sharing yourself, being with him doing things for him winning you over, you not winning him over. You want to give less and receive more. That's the whole thing. The art of giving to a man. You want to give love, but the love you give to a man is the opportunity to succeed and making you happy.
Is there a certain amount of time that you should wait before having sex?
I think the more maturity you have, the faster you can do it. Okay. You've been around the block a while, whenever you have grown up, but when you're younger, and I'm saying younger is before 35, and definitely before 28. And this is where you're most independent as a woman, in your 20s. And so you feel more masculine. So you're just going to go experiment and then have a bunch of one night stands and not feel so good and have it throws your hormones out, okay? Because what happens in sex, and women don't understand, most people don't understand hormones, but when you have sex with a man, and a man comes inside of you and he leaves, but you stay stuck on him to a great extent. There's a hormone called oxytocin that gets produced. What causes the orgasm is your estrogen doubles, but your estrogen can't double unless you feel really safe. So you feel safe, oxytocin gets produced, and then when you have a climax, it releases your oxytocin. So now you don't feel safe. You've lost the hormone of safety, and then that drops your estrogen down. But so there's a neediness that can start developing in girls when they have sex too soon, too fast, and whatever. But it's hard to say what's right when it comes to timing. But several dates, I know couples that were 3 months, before they actually had sex. And this is what you do, in my mind, is if a guy's wanting to have sex with you and you give him a kiss and then he wants more, and you might think, oh, that might feel good to do more. Don't. Okay. And he's going to say, oh, but don't you want to have me come in? Or don't you want to have sex? And maybe you're making out, even getting a little hot and heavy. Then you say, he's going to want more. And you say, oh, I'd really like that, but I have to go slow. And now he's going to negotiate. And I mean, don't you want to have sex? Oh, yes, I'd love to have sex. Okay, let's have sex. Okay. Oh, I just need to go slow. Every cell in my body. And I know when we do it, it's going to be so good, but I have to go slow. Why? The answer to why is I just need to go slow. I need to feel I know you and you know me. And that, oh, it's going to be so good when we know each other like that. And that's, you win the argument. It's not even an argument. You set the boundary, but you do it in such a way that says, I want to have sex with you. Because 90% of a man's need to have sex is knowing that a woman wants to have sex with me. It's all an ego thing. It's why porn works so strong for men. These women don't really want to have sex with him, but because they're undressed, his unconscious brain sees a woman undressing in front of him. The unconscious brain goes, oh, this woman wants to have sex with me. And his
Wow.
testosterone shoots up. It's just knowing that she wants to have sex with me. It's the testosterone producer. Ironically, actually having sex afterwards lowers his testosterone. And then you now have a man who needs to pull away to have more independence before he's interested in you again. The problem is some other new and different woman could come up and he could go after her. So you lose your advantage of building a bond with a man. And not that, we're trying to control the situation. You're just doing what works. Is never in history did women want to have sex right away. And, you'd have to be engaged to her in ancient cultures before you had sex. I mean, it's a promise, and so whenever anything's easy for men, they become weak. Men have to do the difficult things. If you look historically, is the relationship of men and women is they got together, and what do women not want to do? What is it you don't want to do? We're happy to do it because we'll get laid afterwards. See, women actually don't feel sexual unless a man does something for her.
Okay.
Trigger. I mean, and that's where you have all these romantic gestures. The whole point of romance was men do things for women that they could do for themselves, but they don't have to do. Because see, there's another biological reality is women can do everything a man can do. Okay, they can do. And more, because we all start out as female. Boys and boy babies are just like girl babies for the first 3 to 4 weeks. Then the Y chromosome at a timing around 3 or 4 weeks, what it does, it releases 23 genes that women don't have. And what those 23 genes do is they override a whole bunch of his female genes. So he can't connect with his female side except by a woman, by connecting with her. You can connect to your male hormones and your male genes and your female genes. You have access to all of them. I, as a man, don't unless I'm having sex with you.
Fascinating.
It is very fascinating. This is why sex drives men. And now at a more evolved level, in a more mature level, I'm basically driven by love. And I've learned, and this is what I call enlightened sexuality, which is I'm having sex not to intensify the pleasure. All the books on sex are all about how to intensify pleasure, and rather providing pleasure for each other, but not trying to intensify it. Because if you intensify it, then you're trying to make it more than it is. If you notice when you're aroused, there's nothing to it. Your breathing starts happening, you're interacting with the guy, and you're there, and it's all happening automatically. You want to nurture it happening automatically. Some of the classes on sex, they say, okay, now breathe together with your partner. Well, that's an ancient technique, but it wasn't breathe together with your partner. It was before you do anything, notice that you're turned on and your breathing is changed. And just notice the automatic breathing that happens. And then that's the first stage of arousal. And then the desire to kiss and exchange fluids. Fluids is really, really important. That's why the kiss is so important. If you have a feeling that, not a sexual feeling, but just a feeling that you'd like to get to know this guy, maybe there's some potential, one kiss, so that a few of the saliva can connect. So over the next few days, your body can figure out how the compatibility of those genes with your genes. I mean, it's amazing, because I think everybody's had that experience of maybe you weren't that thrilled with the first kiss, or maybe you were, but a few days later, you're kind of thinking, oh, that was pretty nice. It takes time for your body to warm up, and you want to give him space to miss you. So there's a great concept. A lot of this is in my book, Mars and Venus on a Date, because you asked about single women. The most important book other than that one is Beyond Mars and Venus, which is where I'm talking about the modern woman, she's on her male side most of the time. Independent. If you're independent, you're making male hormones.
Yeah.
And women have male hormones. That's great. But if you don't have a culture, and culture used to do that, supports you in balancing your male hormones with your female hormones. So I'll give you an example of balancing male and female hormones in ancient culture, which would be 100 years ago. And when I was growing up, even, and then before that, that's your role mate relationship. That's the man has a role and the woman has a role. And those roles actually were ideal for promoting estrogen in women and testosterone in men. And why do we want to do that? Because still today, biologically, if I'm stressed, my testosterone is too low. And if I'm angry, my testosterone is too low and my estrogen's too high, because anger is a feeling. And whenever you have any feeling, your estrogen's going up. So for women, when they're unhappy, depressed, anxiety, all that, in most cases, her testosterone is high and her estrogen is low. That's that feeling of, well, I can't depend on anybody. I'll have to do it myself. That feeling I have to do it myself produces testosterone, independence. I can do it. I don't need anybody. That's all testosterone. And that's the dynamic. And you can do it as a woman. You've got a strong testosterone side. It's just that men, when they're happy, make 10 times more testosterone than you can make. And we can make 20 times more in order to make love to you. Okay, so there's now not all men can do that anymore. I mean, there are a lot of men, they either have one condition where they can't ejaculate, and that's mother issues, and then there's the other one where they ejaculate within 2 to 3 minutes.
But we can help with that by saying things like, that makes sense, you're right, or
well, no, that helps the bonding outside the bedroom, no question about it. But the issue with males today and women today is men do not last long enough in their vagina for women to experience the full stimulation and healing of her body. Every place in the vagina, according to acupuncture, goes to different organs and regenerates your organs. It's creative energy. You know, sex is making love is the greatest thing. It makes life, right? And it holds couples together. And what women don't understand is that in marriages, you build up a love bank, you know, a lot of good experiences, you know, memories and all these. It's like you're building up this love bank. And so if you have $1 million in your love bank and your partner does something and cheats you out of 1,000, it's no big deal. Or something happens, it's nothing. You know, I spend money here, spending money there, but I got plenty of money in the bank. So we're always trying to build up our banks. And what men can do outside the bedroom is what fills up a woman's bank the most. Okay, so I drive her places. She wants to talk. I listen. I don't make her wrong. I don't interrupt her. We're not trying to fix her problems. I'm empathetic. I've learned a language that women need to hear and know how to provide. It's like being a massage therapist, knowing how to massage places. You know, what's interesting in a massage therapist, you know, you go over one place again and again and again. A guy just wants to do, okay, I massaged you. You know, he's got to like have the skill here. It takes time for a woman to feel seen, to feel heard, to be rational sometimes, to not be logical, and then gradually come back to her logical perspective. For men, they get logical and they have no emotion or feeling, and it takes a while for them to come back to their feeling side. So we get out of balance here, and we need to understand how to help our partners come back into balance. And dating for single women or for married women, it's having a man do things for you that you could do yourself, but you don't have to do because he's going to do it for you and you don't owe him anything. It's a key thing. You don't owe him anything. A lot of women don't let men do things for them because then she feels I'm obligated to have sex with him. And you're not. Okay, you're not a prostitute. You're not obligated. You need to understand that when a man does something for you on a date or in a relationship, if you are happy with what he provided for you, that was how you reciprocate. You don't have to now pay for his meal next time. So if I'm going to dinner with my buddies, I'll pay for everything, and next time he'll pay for everything. And we don't even keep track of the numbers. It's just no big deal. It's because it's like a feather in my cap that I can buy dinner for everybody. Okay, so that's for men. But for women, it's different. They want everybody share equally. It's like, you know, I've even seen women like, wait, I want to take this off because you had that drink and that was $2 more. You know, this is out of respect for each other. You know, they're trying to be fair in this equality thing, which is very feminine. And it's this thing of reciprocity. If you do something for me, I will do that for you. Okay. It's very natural for women to be that way. If you do something for me, you're a woman doing something for me, I assume that I already paid you. I already earned it. See, our whole world is about earning. So if somebody rewards me, I assume I earned it. Now we're even. This is why women end up giving and giving and giving and get less and less from a man, is because if you reward him for doing nothing, then he'll do more of nothing. And so what happens is women think, if women don't know how different men are, they just think if I just do stuff for him, he'll want to do stuff for me. Because if I do things for my wife, she feels like, oh, I want to do things for you. That reciprocity is there. So with a man on a date, just know if he takes you somewhere and you had a good time, you made his day. That's what men are looking for. We're not looking for you to do stuff for us. We're looking to feel successful in doing things for you. So the essence of relationship, when you understand gender, is yes, you want to give. You know, in every religious book, every spiritual book, giving is its own reward and giving is where it's at. But then you look at reality as a therapist, every woman that comes in my office who's not happy in a relationship will say the same thing. I give and give and give. I get nothing back. I'm empty. Whatever happened to giving? Why did giving not work? Well, it's in her genes to give to her children, and she gives to her children, and she's happy because she has a man who supports her doing things that she could do for herself. She doesn't have to do for herself because she has a man doing it, and now she can do for the child. You see how that dynamic? This was amazing intelligence to put this together. And the only time, to a great extent, dysfunctionality between men and women, you know, there was neighbors and other armies and whatever, but between a husband and a wife, the dysfunctionality really only came out when a man wasn't paid fairly for his work. When a man is not paid fairly for his work, so he can provide enough for his family. See, this is all men want to do, make enough to make my wife happy. Okay, then they're happy. That's it. And sometimes women complain, he's too happy. He should work harder. But anyway, so relationships work when a man gets paid enough for his job so he can support his family. If he doesn't get paid enough for his job, then he loses his motivation for his job. So this is what happens to men, is they become unmotivated because they're not getting paid enough. And they're not, in what measures am I getting paid enough? It's enough for me to have a home for my family. And so when a man could provide a home for his family, relationships stayed together and there was a lot of love. When nothing was ever perfect, but there was a lot of love and support and they stayed together. Now what's happened is as we progressed, as evolution goes, we're more conscious. Okay, this is more awareness. And we are really different than just 40 years ago. I'm thinking about at 70, 50 years ago, I was a teenager and I could look at pictures of women who are a couple of years older than me, who were flight attendants. And they literally look, maybe they're 21, they look like they were 35. You can look at all these old pictures of people, both men and women, they look much older than they would look in today's time. We're a different species. We're more aware, greater awareness, greater youthfulness. We're aware of the part of being aware is being aware of the playful part of us, being aware of the vulnerable part of us. You know, we're not just shutting down. We're living longer if we eat healthy, and we're more vibrant. Now, so here we are at this time of greater awareness. What does that mean? I have an awareness of both my male side, but also my female side. See, as human beings, we're both masculine and feminine. But if you're born into a male body, you're dominant male, but you want to support that with your female side. So I'm a man, but I have a female side. You're a woman, but you also have a male side. Okay, so that's sort of the dynamic. This is sort of the yin and the yang that the Asians would talk about. You know, within the yin is yang, and within the yang is the yin. We have both inside of us. Jung, a famous psychiatrist, he always talked about, you know, finding both parts of you gives you a more altered state of creativity, of higher consciousness, which means more love, more purpose in life, more mission in life, more your genius comes out, whatever your particular genius is, when the male and the female come together simultaneously. The problem is that when men go to their female side, it's hard to come back to their male side. I'll give you an example of that. It's a lot of men, when they hit 55 or something like that, they've kind of done their career, they're living on retirement, they're not having to work. Now he gets to do what he likes. Whenever a man does what he likes to do, what he enjoys doing, or he depends on others to do for him, his estrogen goes up, his testosterone goes down. When you're a young man, you have to do it yourself. You've got to prove yourself. You have to achieve yourself. So, here I am. I've kind of made it in my life. I don't have to work. My estrogen's off the chart. It's just that I keep my testosterone much higher because I keep working. But even my work is so easy because I'm accomplished. I don't have to prove myself anymore. I'm a big famous author, all that. I've got enough money. Don't worry about that. So life's really easy. So like all my friends, their testosterone levels are way down. My estrogen's up. That makes me a very loving person, my grandchildren, my family, but so I'm starting another business. Just a whole new learning curve. I have to be challenged. I know I need to do that. Life can't get too easy for a man. If it does, he's on his female side. Easiest female side, hardest male side. We all need a balance of that. That's a challenge in life. But then you have to have your vacation time, your enjoyment time, what you love to do. I think for all men, if they could just know what I know, it takes a lot of development to get there, is that I practice, you can't really expect this of a younger man, but what you can practice is you can read these books on making love and whatever. You can teach a woman to be multi-orgasmic, and you teach a man to be multi-orgasmic. So if I'm multi-orgasmic, which means I have orgasms without releasing semen. So, and this book's written on that, but what that does, it means you're always in the mood if the opportunity exists. So now what keeps us in the passion, the spark, if you take two magnets, positive pole, negative pole, and you start pushing them together, at a certain point, they'll click, they'll make a loud noise, click. That's the spark of passion. That's instant passion. Now, in the beginning of the relationship, the reason you spark is your brain is making a lot of dopamine. Dopamine is new. Anytime something's new, novel, or dangerous, or does he like me? Does she like me? How do I do this? What should I do this? The necessity of new performance to some extent. That's dopamine. It raises a man's testosterone. Just being with a naked woman he's never been with, it's new and different. His testosterone will shoot up. A woman, if she feels safe and there's a new situation, her estrogen will shoot up. So when a woman has orgasm, her estrogen has doubled. It has to double. Okay. So, there has to be a lot of support for that. Estrogen goes up when you're depending on someone. Testosterone goes up when you can do it for yourself. So we're always blending that. For women, we have to really take out of our vocabulary that it's bad to depend on someone. It's bad to be needy. Okay. Needy is when you depended on somebody and then they didn't do it. Now you go, well, I can't depend on you and I want more. I can't be happy. That's the needy thing. But
in your book, you said men are primarily motivated by being needed, but are turned off by neediness. I'd love to expand on that.
Yeah, well, that's a real hard thing for women to understand. Okay. It's easy. Men may not be able to articulate, but he knows needy. Needy says, I need more than you can give, and you're not giving me. It's just simply, I need more, and you're not giving. And needing is, you've arrived. This is just what I need. You are it. I accept you just as you are. See, and I need you, and you're here. So that's a very positive thing. So the challenge now, you remember I mentioned that in the used to be the man could provide for the woman, but now when women have this higher consciousness, they can access their male side. And what happens is they feel constrained by a culture that said you couldn't do male jobs. Okay. Culture was supporting you and learning how to be feminine. And now it's a time where the shift is taking place, where culture is supporting women going the masculine because she's aware. I feel confined. I want to break free. Okay. So yeah, break free. It feels fantastic because while you're breaking free from your female side, to your male side, there's some place in the middle, which is where you're both masculine and feminine. Okay, energetically, there's that, both those hormones are going into balance. Now, I experienced this in the reverse as a male, being 18 years old and having free sex. You know, before you had to like get married before you could have sex. Now you can do what you like. See, doing what you like is also an estrogen thing for a male. If I get to do what I like, I depend on free sex. I don't have to earn it. I demonstrated against the war. I don't have to give up my life to save my country. I'm not going to do that. I want peace and love. Peace and love. It was a flower child. The whole thing went to San Francisco, went to the big Woodstock with all the bands and drugs and everything. Completely crashed afterwards. For me, I had the wake-up call, which is, since my mother and my family was so esoterically spiritual, I became a monk for 9 years to sort of find my masculine side again. Because I was just so happy with the girls. And ever since 8th grade, we're having sex and being close. And it was fantastic. It was like polyamorous. It's what these people do now, polyamorous, but it's total immaturity. Okay. There's no maturity with that at all. And it will lead you down into an emotional mess is what it led me to. And then I realized I had the very good fortune of having a mentor who was very successful man, who was very, very happy. It was also taught spirituality. He was, have you heard of TM, Transcendental Meditation?
Yes, yeah.
Well, it really was big back then. The Beatles did it and all the rock bands did it. And it was the alternative to using drugs. It was that rather than depend on drugs to be happy, you can get happy from meditation, which is something you do on your own, which is very testosterone stimulating. Okay, so it's all about discipline. So I became a monk, a master meditator, used to fast. I still fast, I never get angry about anything. It would be like, what kind of a weak person are you to get angry? We're all practicing being positive all the time, which is actually very masculine, not feminine at all. For a woman, it's suppressing her authenticity to try to be positive all the time. But for male to be positive all the time, but also disciplined, you see, just being positive, but taking drugs and all this stuff is not masculine. So it was developing my masculinity because I'd gone so far to my female side. I was having such a good time not to come back to my male side. Then I was ready for a relationship. So again, we all have to find our way to find that balance. But I'll tell you, when I was wearing my long hair as a hippie type guy and my boots and I just like in Mr. Fashion, cool hippie guy. It's also feminine for a guy from Texas to be doing that. It was ecstatic. It was ecstasy because I was moving to my wholeness. But then when I went way over there, I was just like feeling deep depression. Okay, deep depression. Life had no meaning. I wanted to kill myself,
Like, is this it?
Yeah, that's right. Is this all there is? So it's just going too far one direction. It's about finding that balance. And if you look, there's some books I've read on famous writers and world famous writers, world famous musicians, and world famous politicians. They were all drug addicts, and they all had tormented sex lives because they had a lot of sex energy. Just got tormented because if you just go a little bit further one direction than you're going to find that midpoint. And so you get this unlimited creativity and you have this ecstasy in your sex, as long as you go a little too far this way or a little bit too far this way, but it creates a mess. We want to find the balance. And the balance is always, if you have a female body, to make sure that your female hormones, that your male is secondary to your female. You use your male side to bring you back to your female. And you can do that on your own to a certain extent. Like I have a neighbor, she divorced a long time ago, but she looks great. She's in her 70s like me. And how do you stay so good looking? And she says, because she didn't have a sex partner. That's one way. She says, I dance. Oh, every night she goes in my dance. She hires men to lead her in the dancing, the dance teachers, because she has that masculine energy where she can respond to it. And it's powerful. So various dancing is great. Singing is great. These are very feminine things. This was the way to God in some ancient cultures. The women would not meditate. Women would do all these feminine expressing things. But now women are on their male side, so meditation can help them as well. But it's kind of a different meditation, which is interesting. Guided meditations. Everybody's, guided meditation is estrogen producing. you're depending on someone to guide you. So that's great. Do guided meditations, and there's great apps for that and so forth. But if you do more the standard masculine meditation, you do it all yourself. It's all just self. But a man can do guided too, because he's also on his female side, his male side. Ultimately, what we want is to have that balance within ourselves. A woman can date for the purpose of not finding the right person. She can date to practice being feminine and depending on a man to provide what she likes. So the way I summarize this is, for women who haven't found a mate, the way you find a mate is, don't look for a mate, but look to create a series of positive dating experiences where you can recall the positive qualities of men taking care of you, and you being not codependent. Codependent means making a man's needs more important than yours. Absolutely no sacrifice. See, you want to find the man that you're not trying to please. You want to find a man who's trying to please you. Now, it could be over half the women in this modern world are all codependent, if not all. Codependent is where you make somebody's needs more important than your own. I know when it comes to the women who come to me for help because they're single or they're in a marriage and it's not working, there's always some codependence there, where they feel that when the problems come up is when they feel they're not getting back what they're putting out. Okay, I give more. And they always have a story of how they're neglected, and they didn't get what they needed, and how they gave more, how they were misled. Okay, that's because they were making a man, his needs. They're trying to please him, thinking that if I please him, he will give me what I need. Well, that just doesn't work. You only give to a man in response to what he does for you. And the response is not your doing. Your response is increasing trust, increasing acceptance of his imperfections along with the good qualities, not having to make him all positive or all negative, accepting who he is, not trying to change him. That's a big part of it. Accepting as is, not fantasizing what you can do to make him better. So this is the guy. This is what you get. If you try to change what you get, you'll get less. If you don't try to change what you get, but you learn the skills that I'm teaching, which is the most important skills, how to ask for what you want, how to ask for what makes you feel good, how to ask in a way that that won't be interpreted as criticism. When you ask someone for more, the way a man always hears that is, are you saying I'm not doing enough? If I'm doing it wrong.
Right.
But see, it's the female nature to make things better. That's evolution. It's the female is the evolutionary force. The male is the stability. Don't change. Only change if it's broken. So if you want me to change, then you're saying I'm broken.
Right.
And then when women want more, men are like, why isn't this enough? We make you wrong for wanting more, but you have to get more in a relationship. And what you want more of is within the realms of reason. But once a woman is making money and independent, what she needs more of is different from what my mother needed. What she needs more of is emotional support, a kind of emotional support that helps her come back to producing estrogen. And another way of saying it is, she needs an emotional support that makes her feel safe, where she can express herself, where she can depend on him for certain things that are important to her. What are those things that are important for her? Well, one is that if they have a difference of opinion, he's not going to get angry. And if he gets angry, because you can't help it, because men do go to their female side. Anytime you're angry, you're on your female side. Anytime you're loving, you're on your female side. All emotions, all feeling is your female side. All logic, analysis, detachment is your masculine side. So, what I've cultured in my life, my spirituality helped me a lot with this, is complete detachment, but not indifferent. It's very hard to get me upset about anything. And I give my partner complete permission anytime I'm the slightest bit upset, which is extremely rare, to say, you're just overreacting. And I philosophically, I have to say, you're right, because I am. All negativity is overreacting. It's believing something that's not really true. You get mad at your partner. Oh, you don't love me. Well, I do love you. You can't tell me I don't love you. That's why I'm with you. But you can't argue about that. And women need to freely express overreaction because they have so much more estrogen. but it will shift, it will automatically shift. And the irony is, if women can express an overreaction out loud and nobody sort of argues with her or tries to get reasonable and say, well, that's absurd, you're overreacting. And if you say that to a woman, now she's going to be reasonable. That makes testosterone. You have to let her be unreasonable and know that this is just great foreplay for sex. That's how I look at it. You know, it's, as a man, I want great sex. And part of it is I don't care about the pleasure. I care about how much love I get to feel. And I get to feel so much love. And then it lasts throughout the day. It was making love that really changed my life. Meditation helped me gain a space of freedom, but it's the making love part that just brings all my enlightenment into creativity, where I write all these books and I have family, I have all these good things happening, primarily because I'm very, very clear about my male side and my female side and what women have to focus on. If you want to manifest what you want, you have to be on your male side, but more importantly, nurturing your female side. So let's look at male power and female power, because all women are talking about empowerment, you know, female empowerment. And I just go, let's just get down to the basics. If you want to look at power, there's two types of power. One type of power is, and I'll call this, because it's testosterone gets produced, is when you feel cool, calm, and collected, and you can make things happen. Okay. I just gracefully go through my day. I'll do 6 of these talks in a day and not get tired at all. Occasionally I get a headache if I do too much, but generally I have unlimited energy. I can teach workshops I used to do 7-day workshops, talking 10 hours a day. Amazing energy. That's my power. I can sit and write a book. If I say I'm going to do something, I do it. I'm reliable. I'm also lazy. I just don't tell you I'm going to do everything. I say, well, I haven't decided I'm going to do that. But if I say I'm going to do it, this is masculine power. You say you're going to do it, or you do your very best to do it. So power is, look, I can get things done. I say it and it happens. I put it into action. It's not procrastination. It's not depression. It's not trying to skirt out of my responsibilities. That's power. All right, so that's one power. I kind of overdid that one. It's fun to do this. So that's producing results. Okay, what's the other power? Have you thought about that?
The other power for men?
Just power. That's a woman's power. Women produce results all the time. Women tend to have more power today than ever than men. It's okay. Nobody's thought about these things, but the other power is feminine power. Feminine power is the power to attract other people to do it for you.
Okay.
It's a great thing. There's women throughout history, they've gotten men to do everything they don't want to do. You have the free ride. And I know there's horrible things that have happened due to, you know, communist governments, dictator governments. You know, all that is abuse of men and women. It abuses the men by, you know, when you have other, well, the whole idea of, I don't want to do too much politics, but I have to say a little bit on it, which is communism means everybody gets the same. If everybody gets the same, why am I motivated to work harder? See, this is what's happened in every communist socialist culture there is that it gets weaker and weaker and weaker. It's America, which didn't have that, has been the most productive country in the world because we're competitive. That means there's winners and losers. That means I'm always living in risk. I could lose. I have to put forth effort and to achieve and to win. And that's why men are motivated. It's all it does is when a government gives you things for free, male energy weakens. If I have to earn it, same thing in dating. If you get laid for free, there's no bond. There's no attraction. It will go away very quickly. There's a joke I read once, which says, is it true that men will like you less if you have sex right away? And the person says, I'm not sure, but I know he's going to like himself more. He wanted to like you know, right. And men bond when they do things for you. So what you're giving him is the opportunity to please you. If you give him the opportunity to please you, and that's usually asking for what you want, okay, that's the key, in a way that works. So that's an art. That's an art. I go into detail in my books, but there's an art to that. And what you're giving to him is the opportunity to be successful in giving to you. So that might look like, for a single woman, he says, well, let's go out this weekend. Where do you want to go? He'll say to you. And you'll say, I don't know. Where do you want to go? And he says, well, there's this concert. I need to go there. And you go, okay, let's go do that. And you're happy because it's going to make him happy. You're now the man. You could say, oh, well, I'm not really into that singer, but here's one I like, and here's another one I like, and here's something else I like. And why don't you pick? You've just made him the man, and you're the woman. You came up with what possible solutions there are. You let him pick, you let him decide, and it's up to him to make it happen. If men don't feel it's up to them to make it happen, their masculinity, their power is diminished. It's up to him. He has to do it. But he has to do it in a way that's respectful of her. So you set it up. These are 3 things I like, not what would he want to do. It's always for you. You have to be thinking always for me.
So give him options when he asks, what do you want to do?
Yeah. Okay,
Okay.
well, here's you need to be ready. Okay. If you want something to happen, you need to be thinking of, well, I know this weekend this is going on, and this is going on, and this is going. Why don't you decide and pick? Okay. Just as simple as that. Don't care what he thinks. And there are these men on their female side, and they're going to go, oh, she didn't ask me what I want. Well, very gay. This is like gay pettiness, and gays are fine. They're fine, but that's gay, that's very
Yeah.
gay.
Yeah.
And it's about me. And this is when a man's on his female side. And what you want is a man who's not all about his female side. He wants to make you happy. He's not thinking me, he's thinking you. And then what you get into is this whole confusion of women saying, oh, all the men are narcissistic. Okay, what they mean by that is he's just thinking about him. Well, of course we think about us. But I say to my wife all the time, because she never stops saying, how can you be so generous? You are so giving. You're so amazing. And for my wife, her only complaint is that I'm too perfect. Okay. It makes her feel inadequate sometimes because I'm very generous. I'm very happy. I'm successful. And I'm a giver, but I'm a getter too. And I say, look, sweetie, she says, you're so generous. I said, no, 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 I'm not so generous. I'm doing that for me. I know that if you're happy, I'm going to be happier. It's just a clear thing. When men in a healthy state are totally codependent, and women in a healthy state are totally narcissistic. When I come in and I see women when they're unhappy, what they're saying is, I didn't get this. He ignores me. He doesn't listen to me. I'm not important. He works too hard. He doesn't even listen to me at all. I'm not on his list. He treats the children better than me. He has better friends than me. So she's always thinking, what's she saying? Me, 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 me. She's the one who's selfish, but there's nothing, but I don't judge that. I want a selfish wife, because if she doesn't tell me what she wants, then I can't do it and get the love that I need. Because men have to have a woman who's a receptacle. She's the gatekeeper, but I earned my way in, and now the gate's open. And I go in there and I bring things in there for her, and she's so appreciative. Men thrive on being appreciated. They thrive on someone not trying to change them, but you can ask for more if you do it in a way that says, I appreciate you and I accept you as you are. And if you do this, it will make me happier. Make me happier. I'm happy. I'm so lucky. I'm with you. But hey, would you do this next time? It will make me feel so happy. And so it's taking out of your vocabulary anything that sounds like a complaint to a man. Now, if you give up what sounds like a complaint to a man, means you don't complain. So, but what if he's stepping on your feet? What do you do? Oh, you shouldn't do that. That hurts me. I can't do that. I can't go dancing with you anymore because you're stepping on my feet. So then he's not going to go dancing with you. So what you do is instead of complaining, you say, oh, honey, you did it again. You stepped on my foot. I just want to remind you the other day you didn't, and it felt so good. That's it. Whenever you minimize, and most of the problems in relationships start out as these little things. Okay. You left your socks on the floor. You forgot to call. You were late to dinner. You didn't do this. You told so-and-so you were ignoring me at the party. I felt left out. Whatever it is, these little things that you could easily just say to your partner later, I just want to remind you how much I love it when you did this or when you do this. And sometimes you forget, but it's not a big deal. It's always not a big deal. Not a big deal says, I accept you as you are. That's what men need. Now, women would never think to do that if they don't understand men, because the last thing I should say is when a woman is upset about something, for me to say, honey, it's not a big deal. See, that's the biggest mistake men can do. See, they say to somebody, look, don't be so upset. It's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. Forget it. Not a problem. We do that because that's what we want you to say to us. And if you say it to us, it's the opposite of the way you think. Because if you're an animal and somebody's, like my dog, I was trying to take something from her and I started to take it and she goes, oh, that's a lovely, lovely dog. But that's her only way to communicate is, I don't want you to take that. So she's growling. all anger and all this emotional drama. It's just the primitive brain growling. But we need that primitive brain. We just want to tame it. We want to direct it. Women do it out loud. If they can do it out loud, it's more efficient, it's more effective. Men do it quietly. And if they do it quietly, but we're not teaching men to do it quietly now. We're teaching men to talk it out loud. That's a big mistake. So a lot of times women are dating men and he sort of gets cold. He distances himself. Women want to know what's going on. Is he mad at me? Well, why does she think he's mad at her? Because when women pull back, they're saying, I don't trust you. I'm not going to share this. I don't trust you at all, which is, I'm mad at you, basically. I'm not letting you in. So she's withholding, she detaches. But men detach instantly if they're just thinking about something. So she now wants to know, what are you feeling? And maybe he's a little annoyed and irritated about something you said or did. Sometimes that's the case. If you ask him, what are you feeling? He says, well, I'm a bit annoyed and irritated by what you just said. Then you're going to go, why are you annoyed and irritated? I didn't mean that. Now you're in a big argument. It will just go on and on. When women ask men, what are you feeling? It always goes downhill. It either goes into an argument or he becomes a baby and she's turned off to him.
Is this when rubber banding comes in?
Okay, so for everybody who's listening, they haven't heard rubber banding, but let's go to that. What happens with rubber banding is men get close. Now, we understand a bit about hormones in this talk. Men are from Mars. I didn't know hormones. That's why I wrote this other book, Beyond Mars and Venus. It's all about dealing with the new problem of women being on their male side, how to come back to their female. But so here we are, and particularly rubber banding happens is when a man's had sex with you, all right? Or he spent a lot of time with you, and he feels a lot of love for you. He spent time, you went on a weekend together, or he's just been remodeling the house with you. Whenever a man's just doing a lot together with you, he's connecting. We want to connect with women. We want to go inside of women because we don't have that ability ourselves. So we connect with something, we go inside of you. So he spent this time with you. His estrogen is going up. Connection is estrogen. And when it goes way up, it pushes his testosterone down. If he ejaculates, it really pushes his testosterone down. So let's just go with that, which that's the men sort of rolling over and going to sleep, the guy who pulls away. So he's no longer feeling that urgency to get inside because he's inside. Okay. It's like you eat a meal, you're done. Okay. He got his goal is achieved. I'm connecting with her because he wants to feel that estrogen. It feels good. Any kind of pleasure is estrogen. So estrogen going higher and higher. At a certain point, it knocks down his testosterone. So now he needs to rebuild his testosterone. One of the most powerful ways to rebuild testosterone is to be independent. So he detaches, he pulls away. He has to do something with you not being in the picture because you are always going to raise his estrogen. So that's the rubber band. He spent a romantic date with you. You had a good time together. If it's romantic feelings, even more powerful. At a certain point, his estrogen goes up, knocking his testosterone down. Now he needs to detach. And you have just spent all this time with him, and your brain is going, that felt so good. Now we're on a whole new level. This is wonderful. We're all so connected. And it's going to get better and better. Even if it stayed this would be great. But he's going to detach. It's a rubber band. He pulls back. And what most women then do is, how are you feeling? What's wrong? Let me try to get you back. And she runs after him, or she punishes him when he comes back. You're bad for doing that. What he needs to do is be able to pull away to the length of his rubber band, and he gets horny. That's what it is. He gets horny. And so he's feeling like, I want to have sex with you. I want to be close to you. What do I have to do to get close to you again? And see, this is the stretch rubber band is desire to get close to you. And so it's a tension. As he's getting closer, there's a release of tension. It feels better and it feels better. He's thinking of things to do. He's enthusiastic. And so he gets there, the rubber band is limp. Okay. He got to his goal. That's what happens in marriages and the dating stage. In my book, Mars, Venus on a Date, that's the third stage. The third stage, the first is attraction. Second one is then wondering, is this the right person? There's an uncertainty. When the uncertainty is there, typically women want to get reassurance from him. And it's not the time to get reassurance. It's the time for her to realize, I'm feeling insecure. Let me first find my happiness without him. Meanwhile, the man has pulled away. If while he's pulling away, you ask him how he feels, and you say, well, you still attracted to me? He's going to go, I don't know. I'm not feeling it. And if he says that out loud, I don't know, I'm not feeling it, then he'll believe it. Don't have that conversation. Act like everything is fine. He'll pull away. A good technique for the single women is the texting. You can just You have to do it a couple times a week. If he's pulled away and he seems like calling you, what's going on? You're feeling insecure. Don't say, what's the matter? Don't say that I do something wrong. Don't say, let's talk about the relationship. Don't say it's the thing men hate. Okay. Because women only want to talk about the relationship when you're feeling uncertain, you're looking for reassurance. And so you're trying to get him to talk about his feelings because you're insecure. You're feeling he's angry. Can you fix it? Whatever. Give him his space, gets horny. But most important, send him little notes to remind him that you're this happy woman. That's all men want, is a happy woman. I mean, I have a happy wife and I'm so grateful. And she's not happy all the time, but I just know if I don't try to change her, she'll be happy again. Just like that. It's amazing if you don't interfere with the woman's process. So what these little notes you send, and this is my daughter Lauren has got these classes, Understanding Men. This is where this one's coming from. Is you send him a text. You imagine in your mind that he called you up and said, "Tell me how your day was." So you're just going to write a text as if he asked you, "Tell me how your day was." You can say, "Oh," you can just respond to be, "Oh, today I went to Starbucks. They have this new pumpkin drink. It was amazing. I went outside. It was like rainbows in the sky. I can't believe what a good day it was." Done. Just remind him that you're a happy woman and you're happy without him. You're not needy, saying, "I'm all alone. I miss you so much," whatever. It's a terrible. No, just, I visited my brother. He was doing so great. He got a new sailboat. How we caught this wave on a sailboat. Can you imagine that? It was fantastic. That's it. Just drop this little thing. I'm not mad at you. I'm not insecure. I'm not running after you. He kind of goes, "Oh, great." So many men, particularly if they had sex with a woman, and then he's really repulsed by him, he pulls away. Too much intimacy without other connection. Actually, a man is repulsed with himself, but he makes it onto you. He'll focus on your toes are too big, your nose is off shape, or you got something weird on your body. One little thing becomes big after sex if you don't have the foundation for it to start with. And my time's run out, so
I know. I thank you so much. I want to be respectful of your time. Wow, just wow, that was a lot, and I really appreciate everything that you shared here today. Thank you for everyone listening. If you enjoyed this conversation, make sure you subscribe, and thank you so much, John.
You're so welcome. It was a pleasure talking to you, and your this whole conversation is so exciting. It's so needed today, and I'm really glad the opportunity to share that with more people. So thank you.
Thank you. You're the best.